Okay, so good day, good evening, everyone. All right, so today we are going to be talking about forms in HTML. In HTML, forms are used to collect data from your users. So when you want to get data from your users, definitely you need a form. For example, you need to take their contact details, their contact information, or you need their name, or you need any information about them. That's where forms in HTML comes in. All right. So how do you create forms in HTML? So create form just like what we did for elements like list and table. You need a container element to contain the form. So this container element is your form. Then after creating your form, you start adding form elements into your form. So we have different form elements. One of them is we have the input elements. So these are the different form elements that we have. We have the input elements. We have the text area elements. We have the what other elements. We have, I think we have the select elements. Uh, and I think we have the button elements. So these are the basic input elements that you can make use of in HTML. So we're going to talk about them one after the other. One after the other. So when you create a form, you can use any of these to create the field that you want the user to enter in the form. So let's go to our code and see how we can make this possible. So I'll come to this page and I would run this on the live server. So I'll just right click and say open with live server. So this will open this with live server for me. So as you can see, this is the contact me page. So let's see if we can add a form here so they can fill in their information. So what we want to do here is to create a form so the users can send us a message. All right. So how do you create a form in HTML? It's very simple. You just use the form elements. You just use the form elements. Then the form elements are set two attributes, or two rather, if not more. One of them is the action attribute. Now, the action attribute defines where the browser will submit the form to. And we have another one called a method attribute, which defines the um, method in which the browser is sending the data to whatever action is specified here. But you shouldn't bother yourself about this for now because we won't be needing that. All right. So after creating your form elements, the next thing you need to do is to start adding your inputs, your form elements inside your form. So there are different elements you can add to the form, just like what I listed here for you. So just like what we listed here. So we said we have input text here, select and button. So let's start with input. So I'll come back here. So inside this form, I'm going to add input elements. So this is one of them. Now the input element is used to provide a text, not only text, though, it's used to provide an input field for the user to enter their data. And we have different kinds of input field. We have the text field, we have the date field, which you use for dates. We have the password field, which we can use for password and PIN. We have the email field, so on and so forth. So let's talk about them one after the other. So as you can see, the default is always text. Just set the type attribute to text, and this will create a text input field for you. So if you come to your browser now, you will see that will have a text input field. Let me zoom this page. So as you can see, I have a text input field here, and I can type inside of it. So this is a text field. That's how you create a text field. But if I don't want it to be a text field, I want it to be a date field. Let's say what I want the user to enter is their date of birth. So I won't be using a text field for that. I'll be using something like a date field. So if you come back to the page now, you'll see that it's now a date field. So I can click on this and it will have put a date for me, a calendar, sorry, for me to enter the date. So I can pick this and you see that this 3rd 21 2024. So that's for date field. We have other ones like we have the time field. If you want to request for time, you see that that will give us the time field. So I'm coming, let me take this thing this way like this so that we can see what's going on. Okay. So as you can see, we have the time field. So this will give you time. Then we'll have there are so many. We have email. So if you set the type to email, it means it will allow the user to enter their email. So if they enter an invalid email, it's not going to work. So as you can see, if I put my mouse on top, you see that black tooltip telling you please include an at in the email address. You understand? So it will make sure that the user is entering a valid email address. That's the difference between text and email. So if you use email, it's to make sure the email that the person is putting in there is a valid email. It's a correct email, which means it has the at and the domain name. Alright, but if you make it text, it doesn't care. Whatever text the person puts there will definitely work. Then we have another one called file. So this one is used for upload. Whenever you want the user to upload something like document, profile picture, and all that, you set the title file. So as you can see now, I can now choose and upload the file. So if I click on any file here, you see that it's going to pick that file. So that's for file. So we have other ones like password. So if you set it to password, it means whatever the user is typing in would not be visible in the input field. So this is how password looks like. So we have a password field. So when you type, it doesn't show up, but it's definitely going to send the actual value you typed. Okay, so these are the different input fields we have. There are more of them, but I will share a link for you so you go check them out yourself. There are more of these input fields, but these are the basic ones you'll be needing. So which I already mentioned for you. I said we have text. For text, we have email. For email, we have dates. For date information, we have time. For time information, we have file. That's when it has to do with uploading something, you make use of the file input, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think one more. We have one called number. So number is used for any numeric value. So if you want this to enter any numeric value, you can use number like their age, for example. So I can see that I can use this to like increase the number. So I can type the numbers myself. And if you set it to number, you can no longer type alphabet into the input field. So that is how it works for the input elements. That's the input elements. So we have another one called the select elements. Now the select element is used to let me remove the attributes. So the select element is used to provide multiple options for the user. Understand? So you want to like provide a list of values so the user will make a choice from those values. That's when you use the select input. So for example, I can say I want to create a select input for career or rather for courses. So inside the select input, you add this element called the option elements. So this option elements I can say HTML, then here I say HTML. So the way this works is that if the user selects HTML, sorry, if the user loads this in their browser, they're going to be seeing HTML. And when they select this HTML, it's going to send this value to wherever you are sending the form to. So I can come here and say this is CSS and this is CSS, and I can say this is JS and this is JS. So if I save this now, you can see this is selecting fields. I can select from the different inputs, either HTML, CSS, or JS. So this is what the select does for you. Then we have another one called text area. We have another from element called text area. So what the text area helps you to do is that it provides a text box for you to type long text. So whenever you want the user to provide long text for you, like a paragraph of text, you should be using text area and not input type of text, not this. Understand? The reason is that if you are using the text field, so this is the text field and this is the text area, you see that in the text field, if I press my enter key, it will try to submit the form, which is not what we want. So which means I can't go to a new line when I'm using the input text element. But if you're using the text area, you see that I can go to a new line, type a full paragraph inside of it. So for instance, if you want the user to write about themselves, you should be using something like this, or write description about the product, something that has to do with long text. Or sometimes they use it for address, home address. You understand? You can use something like this. You can use the text area elements. So text area elements is for long text, while the input element is basically mostly used for short text, like your first name, your last name, your full name, your school, department, understand, so on and so forth. All right, then I think what else will we talk about? We said we have the button elements. Okay, so I can come here. Another type of element you can add is a button element. So I'll just come here and say button. This is how I use the button element. Just say button. Then in between the tag, you put your the content of the button. So I can say submit. That's the content of the button. So if I save this now, as you can see, we have a button on the screen that says submit. And if I click this button, it's going to submit the form. Or rather, I can call it register. And you see, we have it as register. So if I click on this, it's going to try to submit the form. So this is basically how you create form in HTML. So another form element we are going to talk about is label, the label element. So the label element is used to label your form inputs. So for example, if you look at this text input now, it's showing not for the page here, but the user doesn't know what to type in this input field. So we can use a label to describe or tell the user that this field is for your name, this one is for your biography, so on and so forth. So to do that, I'll just come here and say label. And in this label, I would just come in between the tags and say this one is for your full name. So if I save this now, so as you can see, we have full name as a text there. So what we want to do is that we want it to show by when the user clicks on full name, it will activate this input. When they click on full name, it will activate this input. So to do that, I'll come to the input element here and I'll give it an ID. So I'll say the ID. So ID is a way of naming your element, giving it a unique name in the page so that you can make reference to that element. That's what you use the ID for. So I'll come here and say ID of this element is F name. You can use whatever name you want, whatever value you want, you can put it there as the ID. But one thing you should note about ID is that IDs are unique. IDs are unique to any element. So which means since this one is F name, if I'm to give another element an ID, it shouldn't be having the F name. It should be something else. So that is what it's all about. So uh, since I'm giving this guy the F name, what I'll now do is that I'll say this label is for F name. That's how it works. So I'm trying to say this label is for this guy here. So if I save this now and click on full name, you see that this F name is activated. So I can type. Let me do it again. You see that I will just click on full name and it will activate this input for me to type in. So this is how you can create labels for your inputs. I can also add a label for text area. So I can come here and say label, and I will just come here and say the ID of this one is bio, and I'll say this label is for bio. The in between I'll say tell us about yourself. And as you can see, we have it here. Tell us about yourself, and if I click, it's going to activate this input. But we need to rearrange this form. So what I'll do is I'll break them down. So after this, I want to break this one down. So I'll use the B arrow elements to bring the next one to a new line. So if I save, so tell us about yourself is now in a new line. Same thing, I can bring the select to a new line. I just come in down here, adding another B arrow here, and it will bring this one to a new line. So right here now, I will add another one for this select. I'll say label. So this one, let's say the ID of this one is language. So your programming language. So I'll say this is for language. Language. Right. So my language is not correct. So let me. So language. Then here I can say select your preferred language. So these are it is. So as you can see, we have select your preferred language, and if I click, you see the input is activated, and I can select my preferred language. All right, so you can come down here and add another BRO just to like break it down, and you see now that we have a complete form. So this is how easy it is to create a form in HTML. So with what I've done right now, let's create a basic form for users to send mail to Anita. Understand? So what we need to know is their name. So we need them to provide their name, their email address in case I want to reply back, and the message they want to send. So that's what we need. So let me just put it in the comments here. So we need their name, we need their email, and we need to know the message that they want to send. So let's do that now. So I'll just remove everything here. So the first thing I'm going to create is a label, and I'm going to say leave the for now. I'll come here, I'll create an input element, and I'll say this is a text input because I'm requesting for their name, so the text input will be nice for it. And I'll say text ID, sorry, and I'll say the ID is name. I'm going to come here and say this label is for name, and I'll just say enter your name. And I can add like a column here just to make it look good. Alright, so that's that for that. Then the next thing is their email, so I will just say BRO. I'll come down here and I'll say label. This label is for, I already know what I'll give the ID. So I'll just say enter your email. I think I have to say your email. Then I'm going to provide an input field here and I'll set the type to email just to make sure that it's a valid email that is entering here. Now I say this label is for email, but right now we don't have email here, so I'll just come here and say the ID is equal to email. Alright, so we've done for email, then the last one is message. So I'll just come down here and I'll say BRO to break to a new line, and I will say label. And here I'm going to say message. Then I'll say enter your message. Alright, then I'll come to a new line, and this time around I'll use the text area because it's the message is supposed to be a paragraph text. So I'll say the name. Sorry, I'm not working with name for now. So I'll just say the ID is message. All right, so this column and row is just to specify how wide or long you want the text area to be. So as you can see, column is 30, meaning that the the form should be 30 pixel wide, while the row means it should be 10 pixel tall. You understand? So that's how it is. So right now, I don't need it. I'll just remove it and just do this for the now. So you see now they can put their name here, put their email here, and just type the message here. Then the last thing we need is the button to submit it. So let's do that. So for buttons, we don't need labels. I'll just come here, add the arrow to break to a new line, and I'll just say button, and I'll say this is send for them to send the message. So if the user should click here, you see now that they can now send the message. So all they need to do is to type their name here, like Funke. And here they can say Funke at email.com. And they can type the message here, hello, please help. And they can click on send to send the form. So this is basically how you work with forms. This is basically how you work with forms in HTML. As easy as that. Alright, so in our next class, we are going to talk about form validation. We are going to talk about form validation. Alright, so see you guys in the next class.